Okay, so today we're going to be talking about absolute value equations again. Today we're actually going to have a couple of things outside the absolute value, but again, just kind of quickly going over the steps to solving an absolute value equation is the first thing you need to do is isolate the absolute value. Okay, anything outside the absolute value you need to get by itself. Then you do your check. If it is equal to a positive number, you split it into two equations and you get two solutions. If it's equal to 0, you drop the absolute value and you get just one solution. You just solve it just like it is. And if it's equal to a negative number, you're done and you just write no solution, right? Because again, this is just the distance from 0. There's two numbers generally that have a distance, the same absolute value, or the same distance from 0, right? So if it's a positive number, you'd have two answers or two things that could have that same distance. If it's 0, you're already on 0, so you don't need to worry about it. And negative, obviously, you can't have negative distance. So let's actually look at our worksheet here, and I'll do a couple of examples with you guys. So let me zoom in here a little bit. Okay. So the first thing that we worry about is getting the absolute value by itself. So you notice we got a couple of things outside the absolute value. So the question is what order do we get rid of things and stuff like that? Well, it's kind of the same order you would if it was a two-step equation. Okay? You kind of treat the absolute value like it's a big variable. In fact, let's just kind of put an x here. Like let's say that was just a big X. So we'd have 5 plus 9x. Well, what would we get rid of first? Well, the 9 is multiplying, right? So we would get rid of that last, and we'd get rid of the 5 first, just like a normal two-step equation. Get rid of that acquaintance and then the best friend. So we would minus the 5 first, and that would give me 9 times the absolute value of negative 3x minus 3 is equal to negative 27. Okay? Then obviously you'd still have to get rid of the 9, so you divide by 9, and you'd have the absolute value of negative 3x, minus 3, is equal to negative 3. Now we do our check. It's equal to a negative number, right? It's equal to a negative number. That tells me there's no solution. So we have to wait until the absolute value is all by itself before we check, and since it is all by itself now, it's just a no solution. Okay, let's try another one. So let's try, let's do this one. So number 4. Again, I'm going to just kind of pretend that that absolute value is just a big variable, just to kind of help me out. So it would be like 1 minus 4x. Well, which would you get rid of first? It would be the 1, right? The number that's adding or subtracting. It's a positive 1, so I'd minus 1 to each side, which would give me, negative 4 times the absolute value of negative 10a plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, now we need to get rid of that negative 4. It's multiplying, so we divide by negative 4. And nothing divided by negative 4 is still nothing, right? So we'd have the absolute value of negative 10a plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, now we do our check. It is equal to 0, right? 0 is a 1 solution. I just drop the absolute value and solve it as is. So 10a plus 1 is equal to 0. Another two-stepper, right? So you'd minus the 1 to each side. Gives you negative 10a is equal to negative 1. And then you divide by negative 10. And you get a is equal to 1/10 or 0.1. However you want to write that. Either would be correct. Okay. Let's try another one. Lots of examples with those. So let's try this one. So this one, again, if you aren't sure of the order, just treat that absolute value like it's a big variable. So it'd be like negative 7x minus 10, right? Well, that's a two-step equation, right? We would get rid of the number subtracting first, so you would add the 10. Add 10 to each side, that would give you negative 7 times absolute value of 6k plus 9 equals negative 63. And then we would divide by the negative 7 since it's multiplying, and we get the absolute value of 6k plus 9 is equal to 63 divided by 7. I don't know why I can't do that in my head because it's just 9. Okay, so now we do our check. It is equal to a positive number, right? If it's positive, I split it into the two equations. So I have to actually rewrite this equation to the two possibilities it could equal. 6k plus 9 has an absolute value of 9. So there's two numbers that have an absolute value of 9, right? It could be 9 or 6k plus 9. Where do I want to write this? I guess I'll just write it right here. And really small. 6k plus 9 could equal negative 9. Okay? So first things first, I would need to get rid of the number that's adding and subtracting, right? Two-step equation. So I'd minus 9. And that's going to give me 6k. 6k could equal 0, or 6k could equal negative 18. Okay? Then I would divide by the 6. Divide by the 6. K could either equal 0 or k could equal negative 3. And that would be your two answers. Okay? Not too bad, right? Again, the thing students kind of struggle with the most is just figuring out how to get rid of the numbers around the absolute value. Again, if you just kind of think of the absolute value as like just a big variable, it kind of helps because that's negative 7x minus 10. It should be pretty clear what order to get rid of things. Let's try one more here. So this one, again, I'm going to just kind of cover up absolute value. And I would have x over negative 9 minus 8, right? This would be more of the best friend, thing we get rid of last, right? We always get rid of the add, subtract before we get rid of the number of multiplying, dividing, unless it's grouping the two things together. If it was all over 9, then we would get rid of it first. But since it's not, we're going to get rid of the minus 8 first. So we would add 8. Add 8, and that's going to give me absolute value of negative 7r plus 8 over negative 9 equals negative 9. Okay? Then I would multiply to get rid of this negative 9. And that gives me the absolute value of 7r plus 8 is equal to a positive 81. Now we do our check. 81 is positive, so there are two solutions, right? We split it into two possible equations. 7r plus 8 could equal positive 81, or 7r plus 8 could equal negative 81. Okay? And then we would just solve the two-step equation. So we'd minus 8 to both sides. Minus 8. And we're going to get 7r is equal to 73, and 7r is equal to negative 89. And these are going to be decimals, just so you know. You divide by 7 would be our last step, and 73 divided by 7, 73 divided by 7 is 10.42 blah blah blah, so we're just going to say 10.4. And negative 89 divided by 7 is negative 12.7, blah, blah, blah. So we're just going to say negative 12.7. And that would be my two answers. Okay? All right. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know. We're here to help. We want to help. You just got to ask us, and we will help you. I'll see you guys out there.